Well, good evening and welcome to this month's edition of The Edge. As always, I'm your host, Trevor Lewington. Thanks so much for joining me. As you know, on the third Thursday, we're talking to community and business leaders here in Southern Alberta who are having an impact on our region. My guests will typically share insights to help you grow your business, build your life, and build your business. So we're really excited tonight to have Scott Saylor with us from Southland Trailers. Welcome and thanks for coming along.
Yes, thank you for having me. Very exciting.
It's been amazing to watch the progress of your company, and I certainly follow you on social media and see all the great things that you're doing. So I'm excited to get into some of that and to learn more.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a fun journey. I'm excited to share a little bit about that.
Awesome. Well, as I understand it, Southland Trailers was started about 44 years ago by your parents. Can you talk a little bit about those humble beginnings and sort of the history of the company here?
Yeah, you bet. So 45 years now. We're into our 45th year, so we got our anniversary decals and decals and stuff like that we're putting on our trailers, and
Awesome.
we're proud to show that off. So they started it. My mom and dad, Monty came home one day to Shelley and basically took his welding beanie off and threw it on the ground and said, I know there's a better way. I can do it. There's too much inefficiency here. There's a better way. And she said, if you think you can do it, I'm behind you. And I think they were holding Jason at that time, kind of thing. And
so the gauntlet was officially dropped, like not the baby, but
yeah.
Here, take up the challenge.
Exactly. So they set out, and Monty started to kind of create his vision of what he wanted to try and do. And it wasn't building trailers at that time, right?
Oh, okay.
It was basically just kind of a weld shop, and would take on kind of custom work. And he had his own mobile welding unit that he would drive around and go out to certain farm sites and do welding jobs and stuff like that with the stick, and just basically kind of started to build those relationships. And then even through that, they jumped in the truck one night. They told a story about how they were driving around houses and it was pouring rain, and they said, oh, there's a house with no hand railing. So Shelley would run up to the house, knock on the door and say, hey, you don't have a hand railing, can we weld you one? And that's how they'd get business.
That's true business development, like literally as you're driving by.
100%. So they were eager to not fail, and that's how they started, and then slowly got into a one-bay shop, and then outgrew that, and went into a two-bay shop, and then outgrew that. And then through there, they were, got some mobile home contracts for the mobile home frames, and those are, over 60 feet long, and the bay wasn't 60 feet, right? So They would be welding outside in the freezing cold, and the shop would be freezing, and the pipes would be freezing because they had to get the job done for them, right?
Whatever it takes.
Exactly. So it was pretty unique and pretty interesting to hear some of the stories that they had to go through to get it to where it is today. And then they, upgraded to a bigger building with, 3-4 bays, and then outgrew that, and then they said, okay, well, let's build a shop, and building a shop, and then having a house, and building a house, and building a family, and is this the right thing to do and not the right thing to do? That doubt is always in the back of your head.
For sure.
And they pulled the trigger, built the shop, and then we outgrew that shop, and so on and so forth. So it was pretty neat to see how it overall just came about, and just never stopped with the vision of just pursuing, there's going to be a better way, there is a better way. And now we're over 350,000 square feet and 6 different facilities, and just multifacets in what we do.
But interesting that the whole impetus was that there's got to be a better way. That's sort of the original sort of start for the company, is I can do this better myself.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as you said, there's been a lot of growth, pretty significant footprint in Lethbridge, large work team. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about the more sort of recent growth and development? As I understand it, it's your two brothers, Ryan and Jason, that are also part of the business, and sort of the next generation has sort of moved the company to a whole new level in a way.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So I would start off that point with just giving kudos to my mom and dad on giving us the reins and handing that over. They built that business up to a very highly successful business, and to say to your sons, here you go, like, take it, I entrust that you will do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden us knocking walls down and saying this is the way the flow needs to work, and for him to say, okay, like, I'm going to let you guys do this and not step in, is kudos to him. But we took the reins in 2012 roughly. In 2010 I was out in Kelowna running a dealership out there. My brothers called me and said, hey, we want to really give a good kick at the can here and give this a go. So come back home. So I said, okay. So I came back home. We sat down, kind of started formulating a strategy. Didn't really know what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. So we started reading books and just diving into education and understanding the Toyota way and the lean manufacturing principles and how all that can fit. And then we found a key book and you can write this down, is scaling up. This book is just drinking from a fire hose, page by page, but scaling up has really set the tone for where we are now, and we attribute a lot of our success from that book. It just is a very good strategy on what and how to build that out. So that's what we did. We set the tone and got core values and set our strategy and openly communicated that to the team, and like really openly communicated that to the team. Shared to them, you know, financial information, how we're doing. The company number one priority is to make money. We need to make money as a company, otherwise we go away.
Profit's not a dirty word, right?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
We need to be profitable with what we're doing, and here's how the profits are spent, and this is what we're, you know, reallocating it to, and et cetera, et cetera. So that was really interesting to see how that kind of came to be as well, because again, there's no crystal ball for this, right? It's like you just read and do your research and try to understand what that best path would be, and from there execute. And if you fail, then take a couple steps back and then go again.
Kudos to your parents, though, for having sort of the willingness to step back and have the trust, because sometimes that intergenerational conflict can be a challenge, right? Sounds like they truly said, no, we're handing you the business, go do.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful dynamic in the sense that, you know, Ryan took the general manager style of role in the sales, and then Jason took the head of purchasing and the procurement side of things.
Okay.
And then like the R&D and the equipment side. And then I went into the operations and ran the operations side, so the whole back floor and what we did there and how we start to finish built the trailer, right? And so we had kind of our three zones that we really focused in, which were kind of separated, but yet still came together and had good quality meetings weekly, daily. Obviously, we talked and stuff. When it was one plant, right? It was always we saw each other.
Yeah, much easier because you're physically in the same space. Yeah,
exactly. And now at 6 facilities, it's a little bit different. And you know, one's in this office and one's in that office at that plant, so it's a little bit different. So when we come together in that week, it's time well spent, and it's good to see each other and whatnot. So
right,
yeah,
that's awesome.
So that's kind of how it all unfolded, and now we're in 2025, and things are well. Things are good.
Well, and congratulations. I think it's a great success story for sort of this region. You've got Southland has a bit of a reputation of having a very different culture.
Yeah.
And you hinted at sort of lean and some of the approaches to that. But can you speak a little bit to what makes your facility why is it different from other manufacturing operations?
Yeah, we definitely put an emphasis on that and try to make sure that we understand, you know, what our team members want, and keyword right there, team members, right? You don't call them employees, they call them team members. And we changed that language and how we thought about everybody as individuals and how we can directly affect them and they can directly affect us. It's not just the top down management, it's bottom up, and it goes both ways. And so with that, you know, the lean principles and the lean philosophies help guide that with the 5S programs and a tool for every place and a spot for everything, and
right.
Shadow boards, you know, empowering the team members to do things better, right? And if you need to move that tool, go ahead and move that tool. Like, I don't know that, you know that better. You know that best. You're working on
there's no point in me as a manager trying to dictate, because I'm not doing the work every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So we give time and throughout the days to say, if something's wrong, change it. And go to your coach, and we call them coaches. That's what they're doing. They're not managers. It's, you know, a team captain, assistant coach, head coach. That's how we look at our structure. And through that, then they're able to have that open dialogue and march forward with, you know, confidence and have a purpose when they get up in the morning to say, I'm going to go and change that because that was bugging me yesterday. And so we do another thing that's super cool with obviously morning huddles, and most companies, I would hope, do morning huddles, right? To kind of set the tone of the day. We do morning
like
stretches.
A stand-up meeting and that kind of thing.
100%. Okay. So if there's 30 team members on that production line, or those cells kind of thing, like they'll all gather together, and you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody starts doing jumping jacks together, and we stretch. It's to warm the body up, get the mind going. So we're going into it positive. And from there, we set the tone. Here's our targets. Here's our goals. Go at it. Let's go. And then at the end of the day, we come together and we do an end-of-day hansei. So that's a Japanese term for self-reflection. And that's exactly what it is. We never want our team members to go home at the end of the day and take that hat off and throw it against the wall and take that frustration home, right? We want them to go home and take that hat off, hang it on the wall, and give their wife or whoever a hug and a kiss and a hug, you know, and go sit down for supper and say, I had a good day today. You know, I made a difference and I changed something. And so we do an end-of-day hansei, and that's where you basically self-reflect on the day and you bring up what happened. And if something happened on the fab side or the paint side or near and finish, you bring that up and say, hey, Fab didn't do this, and this is why they didn't do it, and can we improve on that? Yeah, mark it down. Let's improve. So that's just one of many things. I have a list of a ton of different things, but yeah, that's definitely a big one. And not only internally do we do that kind of stuff, we do it externally as well.
Okay.
A little bit in the community and stuff like that, but then definitely to like our dealer networks, right?
Mm.
We reach out to them and we try to bring the same principles and philosophies to them to try and help them, right? Like when a dealer comes on with us, it's like you're going to make money. You're going to be successful. We build a good product that you're going to be able to sell, and you're going to use our philosophy and our terminology to help you be better, kind of thing, right? And empower the dealership too.
So yeah, I lived Lean Six Sigma and Kaizen and green belts and all of that in a previous life. So you're singing my song, and it warms my heart to hear those things. But it's amazing to me how many businesses don't talk with and communicate with their team members. They just talk to them. Right. But the best ideas, the most innovations, those efficiencies all come from the folks actually doing the job.
100%. Yeah. And we noticed that, kind of day one, we kind of understood that. And we can't know everything, and especially as the business grows, right? We can't keep our thumb on all that stuff and understand it all. We have to let go of control. We have to let go of, those decision-making times, and through that, a good saying that we kind of always go off of is it 1 times 1,000 or 1,000 times 1, right?
Right.
And if you can infiltrate that and understand that, then 1,000 people with an idea is a lot more effective than 1 person and 1,000 people, right?
Hang on, yeah.
Right. So, anyway, pretty neat kind of concept, and we train that, we teach that. Like we have an internal training program that Ryan and I have created. That we have a full learning and development team, and we bring through the coaches and we train people on the terminology, the language. So they understand it, so that they can go to their team members and really educate them, so that everybody understands it. We're all marching to the same beat, right?
Right.
So,
very nice. Now, the last time I was through one of your facilities, I noticed on the wall sort of these personal goals, and so it extends beyond sort of production and efficiency. I think it's quarterly that your team members commit publicly to achieving some sort of personal objective, and there's some process around that too, which is pretty unique.
Yeah, so that just kind of goes to our quarterly meeting. So every quarter we sit down and bring together the team, 30 some team members, and set new rocks and new targets. What are the biggest frustrations right now, and how we basically do that is a survey goes out to everybody in the company, and they can feed that information back to their coaches, and then their coaches come to that meeting and say, here's all my issues that I'm having. And then we formulate them all and we can solve them. So then we bring in rocks. So every quarter we're solving these rocks. Through that, though, we always have a quarterly theme. And the quarterly theme always has to be, something fairly fun and fairly neat and to gain traction, right, with our 550 team members. You want something that's engaging.
Yeah, that's to resonate. It's going to be meaningful.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yes, the one that you speak of is empowering, the one right now is Empowering Positivity 2.0. But the one that you were doing was the goal-setting one. So you basically had to try to say, hey, I'm going to quit smoking. And it was a monthly check-in. So, okay, month 1, did you succeed? It was 5 points. The first point was setting the goal. And then month 1, are you still not smoking? Yes. Okay, good. Another check mark, another point. Month 2, same thing. Month 3, same thing. And then 4 was completion. And then if you completed it, it was a total of 5 points. So, and then you get a big pancake breakfast or barbecue or some sort of massive celebration that we throw for everybody.
But they say accountability and sort of publicly declaring a goal is often the most powerful way to hold yourself accountable and stick to it.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's a ton of people that still, not everybody won, but at least they learned something through it. And there's a ton of people that, quit smoking or lost 5 pounds or started eating healthier or, I want to talk more with my brother or my sister or something. It's like perfect. Like they understood that and the assignment, and at least are better off because of it, right?
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, you did mention that part of your philosophy extends into the community. I mean, I think Southland Trailers is well recognized for the monstrous pancake breakfast you do during Whip Up Days, one of the best in the city, of course. You should check it out in the summer.
Yeah.
But talk to us a little bit about what giving back looks like and or why that's even important to you as a company.
Yeah, the pancake breakfast is definitely a fun one. Yeah, we got the Calgary Stampede stage trailer that comes down, the Batter Boys that come down, serving up flapjacks and stuff like that. And we originated it just from, you know, being a part of the community and stuff and doing it for our team members because that's a fun time. Whoop Up Days is always a great time. And then, yeah, we brought in the band, and then we brought in bouncy castles and a petting zoo, and now it's this massive thing where we're hanging things from cranes, and yeah, it's really a spectacle. So definitely come down and check it out. But, you know, the reason why we do it is not that you have to, that you want to, right? You want to put on those events and you know, bring out the kids and bring out the families. And when a team member does work there, you know, come on down. You know, typically it's a 15-minute break or something. It's like, take a half an hour, take 45 minutes, sit and listen to some music. It's like, today's the day to just kick back and relax, and if your family's here and your kids are here and they're playing, enjoy it, right?
Right.
So I think that's super important, and we need that. Businesses need to do that. They need to give back if they're able to, right? Like it's hard to set some of that stuff up when you're in those first stages, right, of growing the business and getting things rolling. Your head's down, and it's tough to kind of look up and say, hey, I got to put on an event or do something in the community.
Right.
It's tough to kind of set that time aside sometimes, but we've gone to a point where, you know, you got to give back. You got to look at the community of who supported you and whatnot, and say thanks.
Oh, that's great to hear. I think that's a really important part of it. Now, it you know, part of my job as an economic developer, of course, is to promote the city, and it's sometimes challenging to attract talent to this community as a smaller center. And obviously, there's the family business and the fact this is home. But what keeps you as a young professional in Lethbridge? Like, why is this community a good place for you?
I ask myself that every day.
Dang it. Don't listen to him.
No, it's Lethbridge is great. It's a good spot, you know. Born and raised here, lived in Kelowna for a couple of years. It was great to get out. You know, I highly recommend that. You know, like getting out of your hometown just for a little bit, and if you stay away, then that's fine too. But right, you need to get out and see the different parts of the world to understand what's really going on around you and out there. And but from that coming back, it's been nice, and it's definitely a spot where you can raise a family. The schools are good. You know, it's 15 minutes anywhere, you know, kind of thing. You get to those bigger centers, and we're fortunate enough we get to travel and go to these bigger conventions and things like that. And you get into some of those cities, and it's just, I don't think I could live here ever, right?
Yeah, every time I'm in Dallas or Toronto or some of them, you're just like, well, I'm still in traffic an hour and a half later. No thanks.
Yeah. So that's like just not my cup of tea, and obviously a lot of other people's cup of tea. So it's got its perks. You know, an hour from the mountains is beautiful. You can be up there in an hour and a half and skiing on the slopes. And you know, if you need to go somewhere, drive to Calgary, get the flight. Although I wish our airport was a little bit better.
We are working on that.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, we have to, right? It's something we need to do.
Yeah, connectivity matters.
Yeah, and the city needs to grow with the businesses that are growing within it too, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, I would imagine that finding the right talent for your business is sort of an ongoing battle. If there are people out there that are interested in manufacturing, you know, do you have to have a specific background, a specific skill set, or does your approach more, you know, we'll take people and provide the training? Like, what are you looking for when you recruit?
Yeah, so that's a pretty good question. There's a ton of different ways. Like, so I think you've heard that we've, you know, sponsored the welding lab at Churchill. Like, that's definitely a big component of it that I think the obviously federal government, provincial government, and just local municipalities need to focus more on, is that development of our youth, right? And how we can actually, you know, go into the high schools, go into the middle schools, go into the elementary schools. Like, I was just over in Japan back in November, and every single tour we went on in a manufacturing setting, there was always students. And they all had little yellow hats on, their little uniforms and stuff, and they were walking around, and they had to be, I would say, anywhere from ages 7, 8 to 12 kind of thing. Wow. Varied in age, but very young. And they're in manufacturing settings, and understanding that, like, this is meaningful work. This is something that shouldn't be looked down on. You know, it's not this old, dirty, grungy weld shop anymore. Right. It's actually very meticulous and very fulfilling with what you're doing.
There's a lot of technology. There's robots. There's
100%.
Right?
Yeah. And we've always had that, I think, connotation of, you know, it's a dirty weld shop. Don't ever be a welder. You know, don't ever be a painter. It's like, no, like, come in and take a look at what we're doing here. Like, it isn't dirty anymore. Like, it's meticulous. Things are in its place. We grab things from certain shelves that are labeled, that are painted, the tools are 5S and in the proper spots.
Right.
Like, we want efficiency, we need efficiency to be successful. And so through those high schools and programs and stuff is the starting point, right? And to have them understand what their routes and what their career path could be. So in grade 10 or 9, they start understanding electrical work. And they get to grade 11 and they're like, you know what? It's not really clicking for me. Can I try welding? Okay, sure. Try welding. And then by grade 12, I actually like welding. I'm going to continue this. And they understand and they know out of grade 12 where they're going. As opposed to right now, they graduate high school, they take a year off, they still don't know what they're doing.
And then they start the journey.
Yeah. You know, and they're 22, 23 years old in their basement still, in their parents' house. And there's nothing wrong with that but they got to have a purpose, right? They need to understand where they're going. And a lot of these kids are lost and they're not sure where to go and what to do. And so that's kind of the first tool. The second tool is, yes, we have massive apprenticeship programs.
Okay.
We have at least over, I think, 80 apprentice welders right now going through and getting their tickets and stuff. So we have a huge supply to the college that we're always feeding people to. And you can basically come with us with no welding experience at all and start on the finishing lines is typically what we would do. Start there, understand the process, understand kind of what we're doing, and then navigate into expressing, hey, I would like to learn how to welding, do welding training program in-house that we created, and then through that, then say, I want to sign up for, you know, doing my first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and through that, come up with a ticket within 4 years.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic. And not only welding, like we have electricians, we have plumbers, we have heavy duty mechanics, we have HD mechanics, we have, you know, like certain office side of things, accountants, you know, you know, all those HR designations, all that kind of stuff is in our organization. Engineers, like we have 15 engineers on staff right now.
Because you do your own design and engineering work in-house, right?
Yeah. We preach that very heavily in all of like the social media videos and things that we do, right? Like we want to make sure that end customer understands that, you know, this product isn't just built in some barnyard. Because trailers are crazy like that. They're, you know, you can really just grab anything and weld it up and throw some steel at it and throw it together and say, there's a trailer. And they'll give you a plate for it. Here you go, pull it down the highway. It's like, what?
Yeah, not every trailer manufacturer has meticulous engineering and certifications and rigorous standards, right? You have to be very careful what you're buying and know what you're getting.
100%, yeah. So there's different like NATM is a National Association of Trailer Manufacturers that you have to be, you know, registered with to say that you meet all compliances for every single state and every single province, right? Which is a hard thing to do because every state and province does vary a little bit. But if you can meet those criteria, then your trailers are safe to go into anywhere in really North America.
Yeah,
so
it's powerful.
Yeah. So yeah, we need good people. We need good technicians. We need smart individuals that, you know, if they have a little bit of experience, great. But if all we're looking for with some of that stuff is just the eagerness to learn, the hard work and understanding our core values and coming in with that. And if they got that, they're going to be very successful in our organization.
Well, I do think it's such a great thing that your company invested in that, you know, partnership with a high school and getting students exposed to the trades at such a, you know, relatively early for Canadian standards.
Yes.
So kudos to your organization for making that investment. That's powerful.
Yeah, and then we hope that that's the first initial step for other organizations to start seeing that and doing the same thing, right?
Right.
And we can grow this out to be something more than what it has been right now.
Okay.
Right?
So in terms of your own sort of career journey, I mean, I know you worked in various aspects of the business to sort of be familiar with the different parts of the operation and the dealership, but have there been sort of key experiences or key things that have really helped you be a better leader and a better contributor?
Oh boy. Yeah, like my first thing would just be understanding that it's all right there. Everything's available for you. Like I said, there's no crystal ball, there's no magical book. There's multiple books, there's multiple podcasts, there's multiple videos on YouTube that you need to watch and can watch. LinkedIn Learning, like you name it.
Especially these days, it's infinite, right?
It is. Yeah. It really is, right? But you kind of like when you're starting off, you just have to take it all in. You just need to absolutely take everything in and absorb it and understand what works for you, and then start creating that stepping stone of your strategy and understanding, okay, yeah, this I like the way that sounds, and we like the way this sounds, and, you know, working with it and molding it, and then from there you'll understand kind of a little bit more with how you want to shape your business, if that's what you're starting or whatever you're doing. But that's my biggest thing, and it's just the hard work side of things, right? Like nobody's gonna come and give you a handout. It's not there. And
like here it is. Go after the you got to go do right.
Yeah, and it's every entrepreneur says that, right? It's you got to just do the work. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to do the work anymore. They just think that I can just I'll just go and do that, and then that's easy money, and it'll just happen. Nothing happens. No. Nothing's an overnight success. And you may think it is, because all of a sudden they're showcasing it on social media channels. But guess what? There's a lot of hard work, late nights, lost sleep, fights, all sorts of things in the background that you didn't see.
Right.
Right. And it was probably 10 years of work before it actually got to what it is now today. Right.
Right. Well, as they say, Southland is an overnight success. 45 years in the making.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that would be my biggest thing, is just, you gotta work for it. You gotta set your mind to it. And I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I want to be the director of operations. It's like, hey, just start doing this. Okay, yeah, I'll start doing that. And you start doing it, and you learn it, and you figure it out. You read more books on it, and this really clicked. Oh, this really worked. And you go to your team members and say, hey, what do you think of this idea? Oh, I really like that idea. Do you think we could launch that? Yeah, you bet. Let's do it. Launch it, and it works great. And then other times, oh boy, that one didn't work. Yeah. Right.
Sometimes you succeed and sometimes you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's falls into our core values, calculated risk taking, right? Like it's one of the biggest ones for us. You gotta sometimes just roll the dice and see what sticks. And if it doesn't, then learn from it and go on.
Yeah, learn and adjust, adapt quickly, but
that's kata, right?
Right.
Like that's 100% kata. The kata, the move is a chart going up in the proper direction, but there is a lot of and then it's backwards, and then you're up a little bit higher, and then it comes down this way and back up. But that's the beautifulness of the journey, and it's lean and it's kata, and it's what you need to do.
Yeah, all of those techniques, right?
Yeah.
What about mentorship? Has there been one or more people that sort of stand out to you as like a key mentor in your journey, or has it just been so many various people to learn from?
Yeah, there's been a lot, definitely, that have come through over the years and stuff like that. Certain people's stories stick. Certain people say things to you that really stick and give you that fight at night and stuff like that. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely. So, but for true mentorship and stuff like that, parents, obviously, mom and dad, like you can't discount anything that they've done. Like they built an amazing business, and it was just built off of hard work and grit, and pushing through and having a positive attitude when the times get tough, and knowing that you'll always be okay. Like it's never going to end. The world's never going to end. You just got to keep pushing through, right? And so those two for sure, and obviously my brothers, just absolutely love working with both of them. Jason's a very creative spirit and stuff like that, and it brings a different passion to the industry. And then Ryan's, a little bit more level-headed and stuff, kind of like my side. And then I'm just in the middle and the mediator kind of thing. And sometimes, I like this way or that way. And we kind of, it's been great. Like we've had ups and downs and lefts and rights, but again, you're brothers, and you'll figure it out.
Because working with family in such a close, there's got to be some tension that comes up in just the day-to-day existing. Right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And in the early stages when we were younger, right, and it was just balls to the wall kind of thing. It was very different, and now a meeting is a lot different now. It's a little bit more calm, cool, and collected for sure, and a little bit more professional. But that's
part of the journey.
Exactly, part of the journey, and you learn to maybe I should start meditating, or maybe I should read a little bit more on this kind of stuff to calm my times when I need to talk and get a message across, right? So definitely those two. Like a grandpa passed away a couple of years back, but lived to 101, had a great life, war vet, right? And he just taught you to enjoy life, and everything has a good time, and sit down and enjoy that beer at the Legion, and enjoy the company that you're with and the people that are surrounding you with. And he was just a good man and just taught like good morals, right? And
kind of give you that grounding of that war vet sort of, what is it they call it, the greatest generation sort of mentality, right?
100%. Yeah. So and then just like you said, a bunch along the way, countless people, and like with technology just getting better and better, and shorts and all those things just feeding your head, and that's stuck this way. And but mentor wise, that would be kind of my top couple of people. Thanks. For sure.
Is there like a specific project or initiative that you look back on that you're most proud of? You kind of go like, that was my baby, and like I made that happen.
The whole thing. Look at it.
Yeah, all of it.
No, yeah, everything has been a huge accomplishment. Like, Lily was just talking to a friend today that bought a trailer, and he's like, "Look at what you've built here. Like, look at how many plants you have." I'm like, "Is it that big?" I'm like, I'm just in it every day. I don't really see it that way, but yeah, there's been a couple huge projects. Definitely, like when we bought our first laser cutting machine. So basically, we were on an old school plasma table, and you'd load the sheet on, and it would start cutting. And it's like, well, we could be more efficient if we loaded another one on and got that ready to go. But it was just super slow, right? So we said, there's got to be a better way, and that's where Jason really comes in and shines on like the equipment side of things. So he found a laser, Mitsubishi lasers and technology, right? And he said, we can bring in this automation, and it's got a tower, and we put the sheets into it, and it can cut all night. It'll cut the sheets all night. And I'm like, no, it won't. And he's like, look at these videos. And so we went to a trade show and looked at it, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. But we ran the calculations, and we're like, okay, if this actually does what it says it can do, let's do it. So we bought it, put it in, and like putting it in, we were in coveralls, and we're on the floor, we're digging the holes, we're running the bobcats, we're setting up the shelves, and then we set it up, and we're like, the guy comes in and says, you guys set that up wrong. We did? Oh no, yeah, you got to switch this around. We're like, well, it's an all-nighter, boys. Like, let's go. And so we switched it around and got out of there at 2-3 in the morning, and okay, we'll see you at 6 a.m. Okay, I'll have coffees, done.
Yeah.
And you go to it again, and you get the project done, and you put it in, and it's, yeah, again, changed the way our company then could approach the steel side of things. And that was definitely a huge one. And then buying Plant 2 in the county was huge. That was a massive one for us, like to buy that building 200 feet by 400 feet long.
Yeah, it's a massive building,
right?
Yeah.
Very, very large. And to think, how are we going to fill this? Like, there's no way we're going to fill this. And guess what? It's full. Right.
And you keep adding since then. Right?
Yeah, we've built another building on top of that now. So that was a big project, because looking at that, the money obviously is a big contributing factor, and to push your chips back into the table every year over year over year is it turns the guts a little bit and makes you a little uneasy. But if you trust the process and you got a good team, then it'll work out, right? And when we bought that building, you walked into it and you kind of looked around and you're like, man, this is big. Like, I don't know what we're going to do, but you just kind of, okay, let's go to work. And you go to work and you start cleaning up and organizing things. And we did a huge liquidation of a bunch of stuff because they left all the tools and things like that in there. So we had that big auction in there.
Nice.
And that was huge. Like, you get run down and you get tired, and you just pull through and figure it out and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel eventually.
Because there's definitely got to be that moment where that pit is, you're like, what did we just do? Like, as you start thinking about the bill that comes due, right?
He hands the keys over to you.
You're like,
this big building, and there's a building there and a building there. It's like, oh my goodness. But again, you just look at it and it's like, all right. And you just grab the next guy beside you or girl beside you. Let's go. We're heading into this thing. Let's figure it out. Right. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you sort of continuously invest in technology, you're continuously investing in learning and sort of this sort of pursuit of excellence. And you were just in Japan, as you said. I'm assuming to do some real hands-on learning about sort of the true Japanese quality and other production methods. Talk a little bit about sort of why you went to Japan, but also sort of what were some of the key takeaways. The learnings must have been just amazing.
Yeah. Start off with just, if you have the opportunity to go. Yeah. And their yen right now is like par with us, which is fantastic.
Okay, so, perfect. So it's cheap.
It's cheap,
relatively.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. So, it was part of the lean journey on the black belt side of things. So I'm going to be going into getting my black belt in lean, not in actual black belt. Right. I always have to clarify that with you.
Yeah. That's a future project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get my black belt, but I kind of did it backwards, where they got to go on the trip first, and then I'll do the courses and the training later on. But yeah, it's an interesting country for sure. Like, it's amazing what they've done and how they've done it, and the infrastructure that they put in, like the transportation that they put in.
All the bullet trains, and
you can get from one end of the island to the other in like 3 hours, 4 hours. It's amazing. Like, why can't we have one from Lethbridge to Edmonton, and in 45 minutes or half an hour you could be in Edmonton?
Yeah.
Like, that would change our world.
It would be a total game changer.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just amazing how they brought things to light, and just knew there's a better way with everything, right? And that's just their culture. Like the neat thing about that is when we went over there too, we got to do the one tour of a facility, and I was like, how do you guys like do your what's your training programs look like? Because we really believe in the training side of things. And what does your training programs look like? Training programs? What are you talking about? I said, don't you train your team members on like how to do 5S and how to, respect every individual and, clean up and do this and that? And he goes, that's our culture. Like that's built in from day one. And it goes back to the kids touring the facilities.
It starts in early school.
100%. It starts right there from the ground up. And that's how they have built such a beautiful culture on. There isn't a piece of garbage anywhere. You can't find a garbage can, but yet there's no garbage anywhere. Right?
It's just not acceptable. It doesn't happen.
Exactly. What you take in, you take out, kind of thing, right?
Right.
And when you get onto that train, you are lined up single file, beautifully outside, waiting for that train. And at 11:56, if that train says it's going to arrive, it arrives at 11:56. And you get onto that train. The people shuttle off beautifully. You go on, and you go right to your seat, and you sit down, and like. Even when the train goes to stop, it's, put your seats back up, make sure you have your garbage, and like you are ready. And it's the respect for every individual side of things. It's like, I need to respect who you are as an individual because you need to respect me, right? So I will put my tray tray back up in my seat recline, put it up, take my garbage with me, stand there ready to go so that I can get off effectively so that you can get on and make your appointment, right?
Right.
So it's just super neat how that works. And yeah, we try to take a lot of those principles and bring them into our company. It's just the right thing to do. It really is, right? Like, why would you not want to respect every individual and live that way and have a positive attitude and have open communication with your team members and, roll the dice every once in a while with a calculated risk, right?
Right.
Like, it just makes sense. So that just backs us up and emphasizes what we're doing is correct. And I hope one day we can send a lot more team members and stuff over there to see that because it's amazing.
Yeah, what a great experience.
Yeah,
and to see it firsthand because you can read books on these techniques, you can see videos.
Yeah.
But until you stand there and witness the train experience.
Yeah.
And it's literally embedded in the culture. It's like now I get it.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
It's amazing, and the food was just so good.
There's always a side perk. Right?
Oh yeah. The food was fantastic. Everything was great. So.
Now you've sort of become the face of Southland Trailers on social media in the last a little bit. And so I'm curious to know how that all started and sort of your approach, because a lot of businesses struggle with, maintaining a presence on social, providing content that's either impactful or meaningful.
Yeah.
And somehow you've made trailers sexy. So talk to me about how that happened.
Yeah, like one day just kind of, it was funny because we did do social media a little bit, like way back in the day. And then, a little bit of a downturn in the markets and stuff happened. And it's like, well, marketing, we got that's kind of the first to go in a sense. And it's like, well, do you think about that now? It's like, that's the last thing that should go.
Absolutely.
Right? But just you learn over the time, right? But I just came down one day into one of our cafeterias and just kind of saw that everybody was like on their phones and scrolling. And I'm like, well, if they're not going to talk to each other and not going to, learn about stuff and hear, then I might as well get them on there, right? I might as well go online and get them there. And so that's kind of what I said. And it's like, we got to do a little bit more here. And there is other companies doing it, obviously, like the trailer manufacturing companies that are doing it. But yeah, it's not a big point for them. So for us to, start communicating our message and what we are doing is pretty unique because we've never done it. And we've never done it because our product sells itself, is what we said.
Right.
If we make a good product, it'll sell itself. You're going to tell somebody if that shirt is a nice shirt. Go buy this shirt. This shirt's great.
Here's where I got it. Yeah.
Exactly, right? That starts to sell, and that's what's sold for 44 years, right? And it still does sell, obviously. But now to get the reach that we really need to get and where we want to try to grow the business too, it's just another component or another key that needs to kind of come in. And yeah, I was happy to step up to the plate and try it out, and it's been fun. It's been good.
Yeah, because a lot of your content is sort of teaching people about the product, but in a fun sort of, not in a technical way, right?
Yeah. I never want to sell somebody on it because then it's like I lost you, right?
But you do highlight why your products are different, and here's this this latch that holds this door, you won't find anywhere else, but it'll stop you from getting hit in the face. Like there's those kind of anecdotes that you can throw in.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And we do make things differently. Like, and that's the unique and cool thing about it, is that how they do it in Texas isn't the same as how they do it over in the East Coast and how they do it over in the West Coast, right? Like, everybody makes the trailer differently because, they knew that person and that was the rep for that paint. Okay, well, that's why you powder coat it. Well, powder coating isn't the best way. Like, there's other ways to paint a trailer, right? And so, we found liquid paint, and liquid paint was the best for our environment up here and how we do things, right?
Okay.
And so through that, it has really made the trailer stand out. And so when people see it, they're like, your guys' gloss is different, and what the heck? And so then they, ask the question, or like, our sill design on our dumps is totally different because of our engineers, taking as much weight out of that trailer as possible so that you can haul more is key, right? Like, why would you want to be towing around something that's 5,000 pounds when it could be 4,000 pounds, right?
And now I get 1,000 pounds of extra stuff I can haul.
Exactly, which is going to make you more money. And people don't understand that, right? And so now we're trying to educate the end consumer on that, to say, you want to go with the lighter trailer, or you want to go with our trailer that is lighter because you make more money with payload. And that's why they call it pay load, right? Because you're getting paid per load. So when you're hauling empty, you're hauling a lighter trailer, so you're burning less gas. And then when you're hauling full, you're obviously getting more weight in, or more stuff in that trailer, so you're gonna make more money on that load, right? So it all makes sense, but then the dealer groups and people didn't really understand that, didn't see that, because they would look at our trailer and say, well, that looks like a weak little thing because this one was built in the barnyard over here, and it's thrown together.
And it's got all these extra welds everywhere. It must be stronger.
Look at all this steel in this thing. It's like, look at this big beefy I-beam. It's like, I-beam's not great. Like, if you actually engineer a beam, you can take out a lot of weight, and you can make that trailer just as strong, if not stronger.
If not stronger, right?
So, now I want to educate everybody on that, because the trailer world's kind of an archaic world, and always kind of has been. But there is some companies now that are trying to change that way, and us trying to lead that path with how we change it. So it's pretty neat, and it's been fun. It's been good. It's not as easy as it looks, right? There's a lot of takes. I gave you guys the blooper reels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But you just kind of got to have fun with it and figure it out, like anything. It's just, again, back to, hey, we got to do something over here. Okay, go in and learn it. Go in and figure it out. And, read the books, watch the videos, talk to the people that have done it for years and years, right? Like, that's now my next journey, my next thing. And it's crazy in the trailer, in our world, because there is like so many different faucets, right? Like, we need to understand fab, how to weld, welding to robots, everything on that whole fabrication side. Then we need to understand the finishing, or the painting side, so how we clean that steel, how we paint that steel,
prepare it, and
everything along those
make
lines,
it last,
right? And that's a whole world in itself. Then you gotta finish it. Well, now what are you finishing with? Cargo trailers, flat decks, dump trailers. What materials are you using to finish it with? What are decals? Like, you probably don't even think about what decals even mean, and what's UV like we're gonna do to that decal, and how is it gonna last the longest, right? Like, all these departments within our facility is a world in itself, right? And you can come in and get immersed in one of those worlds and grow and learn and take it to a next level. And that's what's super sweet with us right now, and always has been. It's like, come on board and strap yourself to this rocket ship, because it's going on the moon kind of thing.
And there's so many things you can do.
Yeah, there really is. And so you're never going to be without work kind of thing, right? It's like, I've kind of, I've done this for the last 3-4 years. People shift over here. What do you want to learn? What do you want to do? Let's get you into another thing and grow that department. Let's grow this department. Nice. And you just keep adding on. It's just kind of growing and growing. And vertical integration has just been something that has been huge for us, right? Well, geographically, we were kind of stuck here in Lethbridge, right? It's not the best spot to be, but we make it work. And, with all these parts and things like that trying to come in, we had to think a little bit differently on how we can kind of control that narrative, right? So we brought in a lot of this stuff in-house. So like toolboxes and things like that. Instead of buying them all from the States, let's bring it in-house and build them in-house. Well, now you don't have 100 toolboxes sitting out in the wind, and they get blown over and they get damaged.
Right.
And, it was -30 2 days ago, and now it's +9. The weather elements ripping the cardboard apart, the packaging apart, they're all
Or if they're delayed in shipping for 2 weeks because the truck's somewhere, it's like, no, we're good.
Down. Exactly. Like there's so many variables to that. And we're like, we got to solve this problem. So we said, let's vertically integrate. Let's bring it in-house. Let's control the narrative. Let's do that. And so we started bringing people in that kind of understood that stuff. We learned it as well, and then grew all those different components out and out and out, and that's contributing to our success right now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you brought up the United States, so I have to go there. You know, I would imagine that the threat of tariffs is a bit of a concern to you, and the fact that you have customers in the United States.
Yeah.
What's keeping you and your brothers up at night, and are there any concerns with where this quote-unquote trade war, in loosely in quotation marks, could go?
Yeah, it hasn't been a great couple of months, that's for sure, and especially the last month has been very difficult to navigate and try to figure out and understand.
On again, off again, on again.
Exactly, yeah. So, again, all we basically kind of did was try to understand, okay, you know, what are the tariffs? We went through this once before, or twice before, many times, obviously, throughout 45 years, but for us, a couple of times, and we went back to historicals and looked at that and what it did to the markets, and just tried to start to understand it again and what it would look like in this world that we're in now, and then create some strategies around it, right? Okay, if he does bring them on, what does strategy number one look like? Well, it's this. Okay, let's understand that. That's good. Okay, if that doesn't work, then we go to strategy 2. Okay, and if strategy 2 doesn't work, then we got 3, and then we got 4. So we got 4 strategies right now that we're fairly confident in that will hopefully help mitigate the tariffs, because whether they do come or don't come, we're kind of ready for it. We have to be ready for it. Quite a bit of our business does go down south now, and that's really all we can do, unfortunately, right? And now it's just a waiting game. We just kind of wait for that March 4th date or that March 11th or whatever date he decides to throw out at times, right?
Sometime between now and the end of the year, perhaps, maybe.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that's really all we've been kind of doing with it, and we've been making some phone calls to the U.S. to try to understand what's down there and what we can do, and if all of a sudden that does happen and the separation starts and it's like, holy moly, what how do we navigate this at that point? But that's a conversation we'll deal with then. There's no point in stressing over it. You got to be prepared for it. You have to, like I say, lay out your strategies, understand what that next step is going to be if that happens, and then from there roll with it and figure it out, right?
Well, and that's great to hear, because my advice to a lot of local businesses has been, don't panic,
right?
But have a plan and start thinking strategically. Reach out to either your vendors or your customers, depending on your value chain, and understand what the impacts could be, and start thinking about it. Like you got to be proactive.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But put it in late nights and figure it out and understand it, and then from there, keep that plan right here, kind of thing, and then when the time comes, you're ready to go.
Okay.
But yeah, don't lose sleep over it. There's nothing you can do. If you started losing sleep over everything like that, holy moly, you'd never sleep. You'd have to meditate all the time.
That's true.
Right? Like, you just, that's the mindset that you kind of got to put yourself into, right?
Right. So American politics aside, if you could wave your magic wand, is there one thing that you would just, eliminate or solve tomorrow that maybe is a challenge to your business or that holds you guys back?
Yeah, government. No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that one would just be internally, like our part systems and stuff like that. Like we've grown, like through COVID was a huge growth for us, right? It was a really unique time for obviously everybody, but especially for us, and how we navigated that and what we did there was good, and it got a lot of ground for us. But at the same time, all the principles went out the window. It was just build kind of thing, right? Because it was a fresh starting line for everybody, because kind of everybody got shut down, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, whoever comes out of this gate the best is going to win this kind of
go.
Yeah,
just go.
Who cares about 5S? Who cares about this? Let's just go. And it was terrible in a sense in that way. So we kind of lost our morals a little bit, and we're like, okay, now that things have calmed back down, let's actually get things together and build this foundation out a little bit better. And so right now we're working on a little program that we call PFEP, so basically plan for every part.
Okay.
And so with all those production lines, like I said, just growing, we are having difficulty getting parts to those production lines. And so if I can wave a magic wand, that would be it, is to get parts to those production lines so they can produce, because they can produce, but it's a huge machine. Like we're pumping out 75 trailers a day right now.
You got to feed that monster,
You
right?
got to feed that monster, and we created a monster, that's for sure. A good monster.
A good one.
Yeah,
But it's still consuming an
Exactly.
awful lot of materials
Yeah.
and supplies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you think of like how many tires and how many pieces of wood for the cargo trailers and how many pieces of skin and the roofs and the lights
Wiring and yeah.
everything, right? The steel on the fabrication side, the paint, the drums of paint that we go through, like all of that stuff needs to be supplied into those plants, right? And you know, adding loading docks onto our facilities. We never in a million years thought we would need a loading dock. Now we have 6 of them, you know, soon to be 8, soon to be 10.
Right.
You know, and it's how we can now feed it. And, you know, that's what, you know, Elon Musk, you know, he says that in his book and whatnot on the manufacturing side. It's fairly easy to design something and make it, but then to actually manufacture it in mass is very difficult. And how to understand that and feed that machine when the volume goes up to this and then lowers to that, how do you keep that steady and how you keep that drumbeat going?
Yeah, and adjusting to those fluctuations, right? Because it's not a steady state.
No, it never is, never will be, right? So that would be it. That would be a huge. It's a massive one for us right now because, again, back to our lean principles and things like that. Not to give away too much, but how we plan this out is going to be monumental for our growth in the future and how we can really move forward as a company. So it's pretty neat.
What an exciting opportunity when you know there's a thing that you can go solve, right?
Yeah. This one's really excited, and the team's really excited, and everybody's getting really behind it now because these kind of are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel because we got one facility like running on it. And
okay.
Like, holy moly, like this is working. And the guys in that facility were like, this isn't going to work. There's no way this is going to work. And we're like, no, trust the process. Like, we'll do this one plant. We'll show you that it'll work. And then, will you trust us after that? He goes, okay. So then we did it, and he saw it, and now he's the whole plant's a firm believer in it. And then I was like, okay, let's put this out everywhere.
That's awesome.
So exciting.
Cool. So, you know, director of operations, big title, big job, big team, big footprint. What do you personally do to take care of you? Like, how do you stay sharp and focused? The show's called The Edge. So how does Scott get his edge and keep his edge just to be on top of your game every day?
Yeah, no, that's a good question for sure. Working out, obviously, like you got to take your mental breaks and get into the gym or whatever that might be for individuals, right? But for myself is definitely, you know, dedicating time to working out, right? To, whether that's a run, whether that's lifting weights, whether that's a sauna, you know, whatever it might be, a cold plunge, right? Everybody's doing that.
No, thank you.
But whatever that might be, dedicating that time to that is critical. And I didn't do that before. And, you know, you burn out eventually, right? You can only go, the Energizer Bunny can only go for kind of so long. And then you kind of got to take a step back and look at like, okay, I got to change this up. I got to give I'm not good to you if I'm at that state, right?
Right.
So you need to recharge. And, you know, kudos to my brothers and stuff like that. Definitely help with that. Ryan's a huge believer in, you know, like the meditation side of things and all that. All that health jazz, whether it's healthy eating or whether it's the books or whatever it might be, the time off, like, you know, take time off. Go and take some time off to recharge. You need that.
You will be a better person and a better human if you've recharged and gotten away from it.
Guess what? When you're sitting there on that beach or in your home or wherever that time or place is for that individual, you know, that's when things start kind of turning. Your brain kind of recharges, and then you kind of, okay, I'm going to think differently on this now. And so we've definitely done that. We train that in our training, like in our learning, like with our team members. We have like full subscriptions now. If you get into the leadership levels and stuff, like full subscriptions to Headspace, you can sign up for that, and it's like a guided meditation. They do a ton of stuff, but guided meditation, like every night. I'm on a run streak right now, like 550 some days.
Oh, good for you.
Straight meditation. I've been doing it since 2017, but you know, meditation every night. You know, because I would go home and lay my head on the pillow and I can move that crate over to here and I can put that part there and I can change this over to there. Your brain will just go, right? And you need to understand that you got to be able to shut that off, right? And so for me, I was like, I got to meditate. I got to figure this out. So I started meditation and I did that, and I've really loved that. I started journaling. Journaling is a very helpful piece for myself too, just to kind of, I've been doing that for over a year now, and just to look back and see, you know, different patterns and different names that come up in your journal throughout your year. And okay, that person's come up multiple times, you know, like maybe I should not have that relationship, or maybe I should expand on that relationship. Right. This is a very meaningful person to me. It comes in my journal all the time, or she, you know, so that's been super helpful for me. Ryan Holiday, and he has the Daily Stoics is his
right.
thing, and you basically read a quote and then, you know, journal on it and what kind of happened throughout your day. So multiple different facets or faucets for how you can do it and whatever kind of works for you, but you need to do it, and you have to understand that, because otherwise you'll just burn out and you'll get into a very cranky mood, miserable. And I got there, like I was there, like my brothers called me out and they're like, you are miserable, like you're just not happy right now. You are
bringing everybody down.
Yeah, and yeah. You can't have that, right? And you gotta be able to look inward and say, shoot, okay, yeah, like people have told me this, like I gotta make a difference and change something. So yeah, and then I changed my eating habits and everything along those lines, and tried to go that carnivore diet type style of stuff. And so yeah, you just try different things and see what sticks, and some will work and others won't, but you gotta set goals and you gotta, you know, try to improve yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, our hour's just about up. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and, you know, telling us the Southland story, but also a little bit about yourself and your journey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Appreciate thanks so much.
So that's Scott Saylor from Southland Trailers here in Lethbridge. Appreciate his insights. As always, next month on the third Thursday, we'll be talking to another community leader. So join me next month on the 19th when Jennifer Tribble will be here from My City Care, and she'll be here to talk about the great work that organization is doing in the community and helping those that need a little leg up. So we look forward, and we'll see you next month.